The 1994 Major League Baseball strike was the 8th work stoppage in Major League Baseball history. It took place from August 12, 1994 to April 2, 1995. It took place after multiple disagreements between the players and the owners about how much the players were being paid. Previous disagreements. This was actually not the first work stoppage in Major League Baseball history. The owners and players had fought before about the players' salaries. The previous strike happened just a few years earlier in 1986. This, unlike the 1994 strike, was short and did not affect the playoffs nor the World Series, when the 1994 strike canceled them both. After all of this, the players warned the owners if they didn't raise the players' salaries and stop trying to imply a salary cap by August 12, 1994, the players would walk out. The owners, being stubborn and not wanting to do either of these things, did not change anything. And sure enough, on August 12th, the players walked out. And while that outraged many fans at the time, and still annoys many today, it changed baseball history forever. During the strike, the president of the Players Association, Donald Fair, and the MLB commissioner, Bud Selig, who were on opposing sides, were on such bad terms they actually refused to hold a press conference in the same city. They ended up holding them in two separate cities. This just goes to show how much the players and owners didn't get along. Throughout the strike, the players and the owners tried to negotiate, but to no success until April 21st, 1995, the end of the strike. How it ended. After many months of disagreement and argument, the players and the owners finally came to terms and play resumed on April 2nd, 1995. This ended the longest and most infamous strike in baseball history. The terms that came into play after the strike were similar, but not exactly the same as before the strike. After the strike, the terms were more favorable to the players because it increased their salary. Things did not go quite as well for the owners, who did not get a salary cap. Not to mention, the players went from being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars before the strike to being paid millions of dollars just a few years later. This had a huge impact in baseball history and was also the last strike in Major League Baseball history. Lasting effects. The 1994-95 MLB strike left many lasting effects on Major League Baseball. Previous to the strike, players were being paid much less than they ended up being paid after the strike. The strike also affected many things, like the record books, Tony Gwynn's career, and the location of the Montreal Expos. 1994 strike changed the course of history in Major League Baseball forever. Tony Gwynn. One of the hottest players in baseball at the time of the strike was San Diego Padres star Tony Gwynn. No player in baseball had hit 400 or above in a single season since Ted Williams hit 406 in 1941. Tony Gwynn was on course to break that and hit 400 in 1994. When the strike occurred, he was batting .397, and many experts believe that if the strike had not occurred, he would have gotten the mark of 400. But because of the strike, we will never know. Montreal Expos. The 1994-1995 Major League Baseball strike is widely credited with the relocation of the Montreal Expos a few years later. At the time of the strike, the Expos were on fire. They had the best record in baseball and had many young stars such as Moises Alou, Larry Walker, and Pedro Martinez. In fact, they were on course to defeat the Atlanta Braves and clinch the National League East Division title, which the Braves had dominated for the past few years. After the strike, many fans were now angry at the players, and attendance decreased at Expos games. A few years later, due to much of this and other reasons, the Montreal Expos were forced to relocate and become the Washington Nationals in Washington, D.C. Conclusion. In conclusion, the 1994 strike was one of the most infamous events in Major League Baseball history. It changed many things, like the location of the Montreal Expos and the record books. After the strike, Bud Selig and Donald Fair had a decent relationship until Fair retired in 2009. Selig ended up retiring in 2015 and was then elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. The Major League Baseball strike was huge. Without it, baseball might not be the same today. Players might be still being paid hundreds of thousands instead of millions. Many things would be different. Maybe Tony Gwynn would have broken the record. Maybe the Expos would still be in Montreal. The 1994 MLB strike was the most infamous event in Major League Baseball history and changed the course of baseball history forever.